The grand hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with barely contained laughter. Admiral James Porter stood at the center platform, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of hovering lights. Above him, tens of thousands of alien representatives sat in rising circular tiers, their various forms shadowed in the dim chamber. "You expect us to believe," High Commander Reed of the Centauri Alliance spoke, his crystalline form shimmering with amusement, "that your species, barely 1,000 years into space travel, has managed to crack seventh-dimensional physics." His voice carried the weight of 10,000 years of technological advancement. Porter straightened his back, his blue uniform crisp despite the humid air of the chamber. "We don't expect you to believe, High Commander. We're merely informing the Council of our progress as required by Galactic Law Section 47B. Notification of major technological advancement." More laughter echoed through the chamber. A Green Council member leaned forward, their multiple eyes blinking in sequence. "Even our most advanced civilizations have only achieved stable fifth-dimensional travel. The energy requirements alone for seventh-dimensional manipulation would tear your planet apart." Porter touched the holographic display in front of him. A complex diagram appeared in the air, showing Earth's prototype vessel, the Horizon Breaker. "Our calculations suggest otherwise. The human mind has unique properties that—" "The human mind," interrupted Reed, causing another wave of laughter. "Your organic processors are barely capable of handling four-dimensional mathematics. How do you propose to calculate seventh-dimensional variables?" In the back of the chamber, several younger species representatives watched with interest. They, too, had faced this mockery when presenting new technologies, but none had dared to claim such an impossible advancement. "If the Council would allow me to demonstrate our theoretical framework," Porter continued, his voice steady despite the ridicule. He pulled up another hologram, this one showing complex mathematical equations that seemed to twist in impossible ways. A silence fell over the chamber as the equations rotated. Even the most advanced AI systems in the gallery took several moments to process the mathematics. They weren't just revolutionary, they were elegant in their simplicity. Reed's crystalline form dulled slightly. "These equations, they're impossible. They contradict every known law of dimensional physics." "They don't contradict the laws, High Commander," Porter replied. "They simply view them from a different perspective. Human consciousness allows us to perceive dimensional barriers in ways your species physically cannot." The laughter had stopped now. A worried murmur spread through the chamber. "This is dangerous," Reed declared, his voice sharp. "You're playing with forces beyond your comprehension. The Council cannot allow." "The Council," Porter interrupted firmly, "has no authority to prevent technological advancement, as per the Founding Charter, Article 3. We're here as a courtesy, nothing more." Reed's form pulsed with angry red light. "You dare quote our laws to us? Your species was swimming in oceans when we wrote those words." Porter smiled slightly. "Yet here we stand, High Commander. The Horizon Breaker will begin its first test flights next month. We invite Council observers to witness the demonstration." The chamber erupted in heated discussions. Some representatives demanded immediate sanctions. Others called for military intervention. A few sat in thoughtful silence, reconsidering their assumptions about the young human species. As Porter turned to leave the chamber, Reed's voice cut through the chaos. "Admiral Porter, you realize what you're claiming. If you're wrong, if your calculations have even the slightest error, you could tear a hole in the fabric of reality itself." Porter paused at the chamber's exit. Without turning around, he spoke clearly, his words carrying to every corner of the vast room. "High Commander, we've already completed the initial tests. The only question that remains is how the Council will react when we succeed." The doors closed behind him with a soft hiss, leaving the Galactic Council in stunned silence. Outside, Porter let out a long breath. He hadn't told them everything. Dr. Wells and her team had already achieved something far more remarkable than mere seventh-dimensional travel. But some surprises were best kept until the right moment. In less than a month, the laughter would stop forever. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility unknown to most of humanity, Dr. Anna Wells stared at the holographic display with wide eyes. The quantum readings were unlike anything she had ever seen before. "Run it again," she ordered, her voice barely a whisper. The massive underground chamber hummed with energy as the test sequence initiated once more. The test object, a simple metal cube, flickered and then seemed to exist in multiple places at once. But unlike previous attempts at quantum teleportation, this was different. The cube wasn't copying itself or moving through space. It was occupying multiple dimensional planes simultaneously. "Dr. Wells," her assistant Mark called from his station. "The consciousness sensors are showing activity. It's responding to human observation, just like you predicted." Around them, the Quantum Research Facility's central chamber stretched nearly a mile high, its walls lined with the most powerful quantum computers ever built. But the real breakthrough wasn't in the machines. It was in the human minds connected to them. "Send me the neural pattern data," Anna requested, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. The new information appeared before her, a beautiful cascade of human brainwave patterns interacting with higher dimensional space. The facility's AI voice spoke overhead. "Warning. Dimensional stability at 147% of predicted levels. This exceeds all known physical limitations." Anna smiled. That's because they were calculating without the human element. She turned to the observation window where Admiral Porter had just entered. The aliens were right about one thing. Machines alone can't handle seventh-dimensional mathematics. But they never considered that human consciousness naturally exists partially in higher dimensions. Porter walked over to her station, looking at the floating cube with a mix of awe and concern. "Dr. Wells, I just returned from the council meeting. We have less than a month before the demonstration. Please tell me we've made progress." Anna's response was to press a sequence of commands. The test cube suddenly vanished, then reappeared on every visible surface in the chamber simultaneously. "Watch this," she said. She reached out and touched one of the cube's manifestations. Instantly, all of them moved in perfect synchronization. "We're not just traveling through higher dimensions, Admiral. We're existing in them naturally. The alien species can't do this because their consciousness is strictly bound to the lower dimensions." Porter whistled softly. "How did you figure this out?" "Dreams," Anna replied, shutting down the test sequence. "Humans have always been able to perceive higher dimensions in our dreams. Our consciousness naturally shifts during sleep. We just needed to find a way to harness that ability while awake." She led Porter to a massive window overlooking the Horizon Breaker's construction bay. The ship looked deceptively simple, a sleek, silver vessel about the size of an old NASA shuttle. But its surface seemed to ripple occasionally, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. "The ship's neural interface is ready," Anna explained. "Instead of trying to force our way through dimensional barriers like the aliens do, we're simply stepping around them. The human pilots will guide the ship through dimensional space as naturally as walking through a room." Porter's communicator buzzed. The message made him frown. "The Centauri Alliance is mobilizing their fleet. They're calling it a routine exercise, but our intelligence suggests otherwise." Anna turned to him, her expression serious. "They're afraid. And they should be. Admiral, what we've created here isn't just a new form of travel. It's proof that humanity has potential they can't match." She walked to another console and brought up the ship's final diagnostic readings. The Horizon Breaker isn't just ready for a demonstration. It's ready for full deployment. The only question is, are we ready for how the galaxy will react? Porter looked at the ship again, watching as it flickered between dimensions even while stationary. "How many pilots do we have trained?" 6. They're the only ones who scored high enough on the dimensional perception tests. But they're ready. The Admiral nodded slowly. "Then we proceed as planned. The Council wants to laugh at humanity's ambitions. Let them laugh. In 1 month, they'll learn why their ancestors wrote laws protecting younger species. Anna turned back to her work, but not before saying quietly, "They won't be laughing for long." Behind her, the horizon breaker pulsed with power, its very existence defying the laws of physics as the galaxy understood them. Humanity's greatest achievement sat ready, waiting for the moment to show the universe what human consciousness could really do. The holographic message from the Galactic Council filled the Joint Chiefs meeting room with harsh red light. High Commander Reed's crystalline form towered over the assembled human leaders, his voice cold with barely controlled anger. "This is your final warning," Reed declared. "All research into seventh-dimensional physics must cease immediately. You risk more than just your own world with these reckless experiments." Commander Thomas Blake stood up from his chair, his weathered face illuminated by the hologram. As head of Earth's United Defense Force, he had seen his share of alien threats. This one felt different. "The Council has no authority over Earth's internal research," Blake responded, keeping his voice steady. "Or did you forget about the Protected Species Development Act that your own people signed?" Reed's form pulsed with dangerous energy. Those laws were written to protect young species from destroying themselves, not to allow dimensional manipulation that could tear reality apart. Dr. Wells, sitting quietly in the corner, finally spoke up. "High Commander, our research indicates that your concerns are based on an incomplete understanding of dimensional physics." A hologram turned toward her. "Dr. Wells, our scientists have studied dimensional travel for 10,000 years. What could you possibly know that we don't?" Anna stood and walked to the center of the room. She pressed a button on her tablet, and a new hologram appeared beside Reed's image, a detailed scan of various alien brain patterns. "This is why you're afraid," she said simply. "Look at the neural patterns of every spacefaring species in the Council. Notice anything strange?" The room fell silent as both humans and the alien hologram studied the images. Blake was the first to understand. "They're all the same pattern." "Exactly," Anna continued. "Every advanced species in the Council evolved with the same fundamental limitation. Their consciousness is bounded by fifth-dimensional constraints. It's not a technological problem. It's biological." Reed's form dimmed slightly. "That's impossible. We discovered it by accident," Anna explained. "Human consciousness doesn't share this limitation. We dream in higher dimensions naturally. Every night, human minds slip free of normal space-time constraints. We just never realized what we were actually doing until now." The human leaders watched as Reed's hologram flickered, a sign of intense emotional disturbance in his species. "If what you're saying is true, then humanity isn't breaking the laws of physics," Blake finished. "We're just the first species you've met that can fully perceive them." Reed's next words came slowly. "The Council has voted. If Earth does not cease all seventh-dimensional research within 48 hours, we will be forced to take direct action." The hologram vanished, leaving the room in tense silence. General Martinez from the American Space Force spoke first. "They're scared enough to attack us. That means Dr. Wells is right." Blake turned to Anna. "How close is the horizon breaker to being ready?" "The ship is ready now," she replied. "But there's something else you need to see." She brought up another hologram, this one showing energy readings from across the galaxy. "We've detected seventh-dimensional disturbances near every major Centauri military installation. They're mobilizing everything they have." Blake's face hardened. "They're not going to wait 48 hours, are they?" "No," Anna answered quietly. "Based on these readings, they'll attack within 12. But they don't know what they're really facing. The horizon breaker isn't just a ship that can travel through higher dimensions." She paused, looking each leader in the eye before continuing. "It's humanity's first step into understanding what we really are, what we've always been capable of. The aliens aren't afraid of our technology. They're afraid because we're about to show them that everything they know about reality is just a tiny fraction of what's possible." Blake stood straighter. "Then we don't have much time. Dr. Wells, prep your team. General Martinez, get our defense grid to maximum readiness. If the Centauri want to see what humanity can really do, we'll give them a demonstration they'll never forget. As the leaders rushed to prepare Earth's defenses, Anna looked out the window at the night sky. Somewhere up there, an alien fleet was gathering, still believing they faced a primitive species playing with forces they didn't understand. They would learn very soon just how wrong they were. The attack came at dawn. The first sign was a sudden blackout of all quantum communications. Then the sky turned purple as hundreds of Centauri warships dropped out of fifth-dimensional space, their massive forms blocking out the rising sun. Inside the quantum research facility, alarms screamed as Dr. Anna Wells and her team raced to complete the Horizon Breaker's final launch sequences. The mountain above them shook with each antimatter blast that struck Earth's defensive shields. Shield integrity at 47% and falling. Mark shouted from his station. They're using weapons we've never seen before. Anna's fingers flew across the control panels. They're trying to break through to the facility specifically. They know what we're building here. She turned to the 6 pilots standing ready in their neural interface suits. Get to the ship. Now. Commander Blake's voice crackled over the emergency channel. Dr. Wells, the Centauri have broadcast their demands. They're calling for your immediate surrender and the destruction of the Horizon Breaker. Another explosion rocked the facility. Dust fell from the ceiling as the mountain absorbed another direct hit. On the main screen, they watched Earth's orbital defense platforms engaging the Centauri fleet, but their weapons seemed to pass harmlessly through the alien ship's fifth-dimensional shields. They're using dimensional shifting to avoid our attacks, Anna explained, watching the battle data stream in. Standard weapons can't hit them when they're partially phased into higher dimensions. How long until the Horizon Breaker is ready? Blake demanded. Anna checked the final calculations running across her screen. 10 minutes, maybe less, but we need the shields to hold. The facility shook again, harder this time. Red warning lights flashed across every console. Shield integrity at 23%. Mark called out. We can't take much more of this. On the main screen, they watched as more Centauri ships appeared. Not dozens now, but hundreds. The largest alien fleet ever assembled in Earth's history, all focused on stopping one human ship from launching. Dr. Wells, one of the technicians, called out. We're detecting seventh-dimensional energy spikes from the Centauri fleet. They're trying to collapse our dimensional space. Anna's eyes widened. They're that afraid of us. They'd rather destroy this entire region of space than let us succeed. She straightened up, making a decision. Mark, begin emergency startup sequence Alpha 9. Mark turned pale. But that sequence isn't tested. The power requirements alone cooled. Could what? Kill us. Anna gestured at the screens showing the massive fleet above. We're dead anyway if we do nothing. At least this way we have a chance. The facility rocked with another hit. Shield integrity at 9%. Someone shouted. Anna ran to the neural interface chamber where the 6 pilots waited. Change of plans. We're doing an emergency launch. The ship's seventh-dimensional drive isn't fully calibrated, but your human consciousness should be able to compensate. The lead pilot, Captain Rogers, nodded grimly. Better to try than die without fighting back. What are our chances? Of survival? About 20%. Anna helped them connect their neural interfaces. Of showing the Centauri why they should have left us alone. 100%. The mountain shook again, and this time chunks of concrete fell from the ceiling. Emergency lights bathed everything in red as Anna raced back to the control room. Shield integrity critical. Multiple breaches detected. Through gaps in the crumbling ceiling, they could see Centauri energy beams cutting into the mountain. The aliens were coming for them. Horizon Breaker launch sequence initiated. Mark announced. Power levels rising. But doctor, the readings are off the charts. The human neural input is amplifying the dimensional field far beyond our calculations. Anna smiled as she watched the readings. No, Mark. The readings aren't off. We're finally seeing what humanity is truly capable of. She opened a channel to the ship. "Captain Rogers, your team has full authorization. Show them what happens when you corner a species that can walk through dimensions in their sleep." The Horizon Breaker's engines ignited with impossible energy as the ceiling finally gave way above them. Centauri troops dropped into the facility, weapons ready, only to freeze at what they saw. The ship wasn't just launching. It was transforming. Its hull rippling with seventh-dimensional energy that human minds had unleashed. The Centauri's greatest nightmare was about to begin. Time seemed to slow as the Horizon Breaker activated its seventh-dimensional drive. The Centauri troops who had breached the facility raised their weapons, but stopped in confusion. Their target appeared to be everywhere and nowhere at once. Captain Rogers, connected to the ship through the neural interface, felt his consciousness expand. The other 5 pilots linked with him, their minds merging with the ship's systems. What the aliens saw as impossible mathematics flowed through their thoughts as naturally as breathing. "This is incredible," Rogers whispered, his voice echoing strangely through dimensions that had never carried human speech before. "We can see everything. All possibilities. All dimensions." In the damaged control room, Dr. Wells watched her instruments with growing amazement. "The ship isn't just moving through seventh-dimensional space," she reported to Commander Blake. "The pilot's consciousness is reshaping reality around it." Above them, the massive Centauri fleet opened fire. Thousands of antimatter beams converged on the Horizon Breaker's position, but instead of hitting their target, the beams passed through empty space. The ship existed in too many dimensional planes at once for conventional weapons to affect it. Impossible. The Centauri commander's transmission boomed through all frequencies. "No species can survive seventh-dimensional exposure. Your minds should be breaking apart." Roger's laugh echoed back through the same channels. "Breaking apart? We're finally whole. Humans spend their entire lives split between dimensions. Dreams, imagination, consciousness itself. We were never bound by your limitations." The Horizon Breaker flickered, its form rippling like heat waves. One moment it was below the mountain, the next it was beside the Centauri flagship. But it wasn't teleporting or moving faster than light. It was simply choosing which dimensional plane to exist in. Dr. Wells' voice filled with wonder as she watched the readings. "The pilots aren't fighting against higher dimensional space. They're embracing it. Everything we thought about dimensional physics was wrong. It's not about forcing reality to bend. It's about learning to see the ways it's already bent." The Centauri fleet's targeting systems went haywire. How could they lock onto something that existed in multiple dimensional states simultaneously? Their advanced AI cores, designed to process fifth-dimensional mathematics, crashed when trying to calculate the Horizon Breaker's true position. "Target their weapons," Commander Blake ordered through the neural link. "Show them what seventh-dimensional warfare looks like." Rogers and his team complied, but not in the way anyone expected. The Horizon Breaker didn't fire any weapons. Instead, it simply shifted the dimensional space around the Centauri weapons. Antimatter beams curved through impossible angles, passing through higher dimensions before emerging to strike their own ships. By the Council's laws, the Centauri commander's voice shook. "What are you?" Anna stepped forward, broadcasting her response to the entire fleet. "We're human. We're what happens when you push a species that has always lived with one foot in higher dimensions. You thought we were primitive because we couldn't match your technology. But we never needed to." The Horizon Breaker's hull pulsed with energy as the pilots pushed their understanding further. The ship split into multiple dimensional echoes, each one as real as the original. Suddenly, the Centauri fleet found itself surrounded by dozens of versions of the same vessel, all existing simultaneously in different dimensional planes. "The universe isn't what you think it is," Rogers transmitted to the increasingly panicked alien fleet. "Reality has always had more layers than you could see. Humanity didn't build better engines or weapons. We simply woke up to what was always there." In the control room, Anna watched as the Centauri fleet's formations broke apart. Ships began retreating, their crews unable to comprehend or fight against what they were witnessing. The mighty armada that had come to crush humanity's ambitions was fleeing from a single ship. "Send word to the Council," Commander Blake ordered, a smile playing on his lips. "Tell them humanity is ready to teach them about the dimensions they never knew existed." Above Earth, the horizon breaker pulsed one final time, its form settling into a state that existed across all 7 dimensions simultaneously. The age of limited dimensional travel was over. Humanity had arrived. Commander Blake stood on the horizon breaker's bridge, watching as Captain Rogers and his pilots navigated through dimensional space. The ship's interior seemed to breathe with 7th-dimensional energy, its walls shifting between states of reality. "All Centauri military installations are marked on the strategic display," Blake announced, pointing to the holographic map floating in the bridge's center. "It's time to show them why they should have taken us seriously from the start." Rogers nodded, his neural interface glowing softly. "Sir, using the 7th-dimensional drive, we can appear at every location simultaneously, not through speed or teleportation, but by existing in multiple points of space-time at once." "Do it," Blake ordered. "Let's give them a demonstration they'll never forget." The horizon breaker pulsed once, and suddenly it existed at every major Centauri military base across the galaxy. Hundreds of versions of the same ship, all equally real, all controlled by the same crew. Panic spread through Centauri communication channels as their greatest defense systems found themselves helpless. "Impossible." The transmission came from High Commander Reed himself. "You cannot be at all these locations at once. Our sensors must be malfunctioning." "Your sensors are working perfectly," Blake responded calmly. "We're simply showing you what 7th-dimensional existence really means. Space and time as you understand them are just small parts of a much larger reality." At each Centauri installation, defensive weapons fired at the horizon breaker, and at each location, the shots passed harmlessly through the ship's dimensional field. The vessel wasn't dodging or deflecting the attacks. It simply chose to exist in dimensional planes where the weapons couldn't reach. "Their orbital defense networks are trying to lock onto us," one of the pilots reported. "But they can't target something that exists in dimensions their sensors can't detect." Blake smiled. "Demonstrate our defensive capabilities." Rogers complied. At every location, the horizon breaker created dimensional barriers around the Centauri weapons, not by generating energy shields, but by folding 7th-dimensional space around them. The most powerful weapons in the Centauri arsenal found themselves firing into pocket dimensions that led nowhere. "This is a violation of natural law." Reed's voice shook with fear and anger. "No species should have this power." Natural law. Dr. Wells had joined them on the bridge, her eyes bright with excitement. "You never understood natural law. You saw the universe in only 5 dimensions and thought that was all there was. Humanity didn't break any laws. We just learned to see the full picture." To prove her point, Rogers directed the ship to perform its most impressive feat yet. The horizon breaker began shifting not just through space, but through dimensional planes visible to human consciousness. At each Centauri base, watching aliens saw their reality seem to ripple and bend. Not from technological manipulation, but because human minds were showing them glimpses of dimensions they had never been able to perceive. By the Council's authority, Reed's transmission came again, quieter now. "What do you want?" Blake's response was firm but measured. "We want what we've always wanted: peaceful cooperation and exchange of knowledge. But we also want recognition of humanity's unique capabilities and our right to develop them further." He gestured, and Rogers made the ship shift again, this time appearing in the heart of the Galactic Council chamber itself. The assembled representatives watched in stunned silence as the vessel seemed to exist in all dimensions at once, its form both solid and ethereal. "The universe is bigger than you imagined," Blake announced to the Council. "Humanity is ready to help you explore it. But first, you need to understand something. The laughter stops today. We're not a primitive species playing with forces we don't understand. We're the species that will teach you about the forces you never knew existed. The council chamber remained silent, thousands of alien representatives witnessing the power of true seventh-dimensional mastery. The horizon breaker hung in their midst, a testament to humanity's unique place in the cosmos. The age of underestimating humanity was over. The real exploration of reality could finally begin. 1 month after the horizon breaker's demonstration, the Galactic Council chamber was filled again. But this time, there was no laughter. Dr. Anna Wells stood at the center platform, surrounded by holograms showing human neural patterns and seventh-dimensional mathematics. The universe has always existed in multiple dimensions, she explained to the silent audience. Humanity didn't create new technology to breach dimensional barriers. We simply learned to use what was already part of our nature. High Commander Reed's crystalline form had lost its previous arrogance. But how? We've studied dimensional physics for thousands of years. Our greatest minds couldn't comprehend what your pilots did naturally. Anna smiled, bringing up a new hologram showing the structure of human consciousness. Every night, when humans dream, our minds naturally slip into higher dimensions. What you saw as impossible mathematics, we experience as naturally as breathing. We didn't need to force our way through dimensional barriers because we were never fully bound by them. The chamber's AI systems projected the horizon breaker's flight data, showing how the ship had existed in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. The alien representatives watched in fascination as human neural patterns interacted with seventh-dimensional space effortlessly. We're not more advanced than you, Anna continued. We're just different. Your species evolved with consciousness bound to lower dimensions. Humans evolved with the ability to perceive and interact with all of them. Commander Blake stepped forward, adding his voice to the discussion. The horizon breaker isn't just a ship. It's proof that there are different paths to understanding the universe. Your civilizations mastered technology. Humanity mastered perception. From his elevated position, Reed spoke again, his tone now respectful. The Council has voted. Earth is to be granted immediate elevation to senior species status, with full rights to continue seventh-dimensional research and development. A murmur of agreement spread through the chamber. The same representatives who had laughed at humanity's claims now watched with keen interest as Anna demonstrated more aspects of human dimensional perception. We propose a new era of cooperation, Blake announced. Humanity can teach your species about the dimensions you can't naturally perceive. In return, we can learn from your millennia of technological advancement. And what of the horizon breaker? Asked a Green Council member. Surely you don't intend to keep such power to yourselves. Anna shook her head. The ship was never about power. It was about understanding. We're already designing education programs to help other species comprehend higher dimensions, even if they can't naturally perceive them. The future isn't about who controls dimensional travel. It's about learning to see reality as it truly is. The chamber's lights dimmed as she activated one final hologram. This one showed the true structure of the universe, all 7 dimensions interacting in ways that human minds could comprehend, but never fully explain to their alien allies. A month ago, you laughed at humanity's claims, Anna said softly. Today, we offer you something better than proof. We offer you partnership. The universe is larger and more wonderful than any single species can understand alone. Blake stepped forward again. The age of isolation is over. Humanity brings not just new technology, but new ways of perceiving reality itself. Together, we can explore dimensions that none of us fully understand. Reed descended from his position, his crystalline form glowing with acceptance. Then let this day be remembered not as the day humanity proved its power, but as the day all species began to understand the true nature of existence. The chamber erupted in applause, a sound that would have been unthinkable just a month ago. As Anna and Blake prepared to leave, they saw something remarkable. Representatives from different species were already gathering around the human delegation, eager to learn about the dimensions they had never known existed. In Earth orbit, the horizon breaker maintained its vigilant watch, its hull shimming with seventh-dimensional energy. But it was no longer a symbol of humanity's superiority. Instead, it had become a bridge between species, a testament to the power of seeing the universe through different eyes. The laughter had stopped forever, replaced by something far more valuable: understanding.